With a recap of what was day 3 in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Once again, the prosecution's star witness, Cassie Ventura, was on the stand, and her testimony was both graphic and disturbing.
Obtained by CNN appears to show the music mogul assaulting his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, at a hotel in 2016. In the video, Combs can be seen striking and kicking Ventura as she tried to leave. I have the video right in front of me.
What words from Cassie's lips sent shockwaves through the courtroom, pushed Diddy to the edge of a life sentence, and left his daughter reeling, sick with dread. The federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs is a spectacle unfolding in real time, a whirlwind of stunning revelations centered on one pivotal figure. Cassie Ventura, once Diddy's lover and now one of his fiercest accusers, took the stand as the prosecution's linchpin. Was she prepared? Beyond prepared, she radiated unshakable confidence, ready to unravel a story that would haunt everyone in that room. Cassie didn't just testify, she dragged the court into the depths of a personal hell she endured as Diddy's girlfriend. This wasn't merely about the brutal violence captured in that 2016 hotel video the world already knew. No, she peeled back layers of something far darker, twisted games and secret parties so depraved they defy imagination. Then came the names. Names of those allegedly coerced, drugged, and filmed, their identities spilling into the open like a dam breaking. The courtroom held its breath as each revelation landed heavier than the last. Just a few feet away sat the man who forged the Bad Boy Records empire, once hailed as hip-hop's untouchable king. But Sean Diddy Combs was no monarch in that moment. His face, once a fortress of charisma, crumbled into panic as Cassie's testimony carved through his legacy. Picture it, the mogul who'd strode in with the swagger of a titan, now frozen, his eyes betraying a dawning horror. These accusations, backed by the evidence Cassie clutched, texts, recordings, perhaps more, could lock him away for life, his empire reduced to ash. If you thought this scandal was just a publicity stunt, listen to Cassie's own words. Who was forced into what? Who supplied the drugs? Who filmed those sick games? Does she hold the critical evidence to lock up this music titan, or is there an even bigger secret waiting to be unveiled? This trial might spell the end of a showbiz empire, and here's everything Cassie revealed. Uncut, unfiltered, all in this video.
Live from the Southern District Court in New York, Manhattan woke to a tense electric atmosphere this morning. A biting wind swept across the steps of the Southern District Courthouse, where a swelling crowd gathered in breathless anticipation. Reporters jostled for position, cameras flashing like a storm about to break. Women's rights activists held aloft bold red banners proclaiming justice for Cassie. Meanwhile, a small but vocal group of Diddy supporters chanted, "They're slandering our king." One banner, caught by a gust of wind, fell to the ground, revealing a handwritten message, "The truth will prevail."
And then the main act took the stage. Diddy strode into the courtroom, his presence radiating an almost arrogant confidence. Flanked by a cadre of elite lawyers paid millions to shield an empire teetering on the brink, he moved like a man untouchable. But that swagger, it was destined to crumble. Across the room, on the witness stand, stood Cassandra Ventura, known to the world as Cassie. 8.5 months pregnant, her hand rested gently on the hem of a simple brown dress. Her face, bare of heavy makeup, carried an unshakable resolve in her eyes. In the rows behind, her husband, fitness trainer Alex Fine, sat on the right, his gaze a quiet beacon cutting through the shadows, fueling her with unspoken strength. This was no ordinary trial. This was the moment an empire faced its reckoning. For over a decade, the relationship between Diddy and Cassie had burned bright, only to fade silently in 2018. But the secrets buried in the darkness of those years, they were about to be dragged unsparingly into the light. Over a year ago, Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy, accusing him of abuse, control, and sexual exploitation. Allegations the hip-hop mogul fiercely denied. The civil case was settled in a mere 24 hours, a speed so dizzying it raised eyebrows across the industry. But the story didn't end there. Those accusations lit a fuse that sparked a federal investigation. What began as a quiet civil suit exploded into the biggest scandal to rock American entertainment in years. Today, Cassie isn't here to sue, she's here to testify, in public, under oath.
She's doing well. She had a restful night. She's ready for cross-examination, and we're very confident that she's going to do perfectly. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
What really happened behind those closed doors? How could a romantic relationship twist into the living hell Cassie describes? And the question that haunts most, how could a woman endure such horrors for an entire decade? This isn't just a tale of Cassie and Diddy. It's a story of power, control, violence, and the complicit silence of an industry, of a society. A society that once worshipped the glitz and glamour, blind to the darkness lurking beneath. Cassie, now carrying the child of another man, has sacrificed everything: her privacy, her safety, even the peace of her final trimester. All to stand in the eye of a media storm, reliving the most agonizing memories of her life. Step into the shattering details of Cassie's second day of testimony and discover why this isn't merely a trial. It's an unmasking of the demon once hailed as the entertainment titan named Diddy. At 10:12 a.m., the name Cassandra Ventura, known to the world as Cassie, rang out in the courtroom. Before her, two witnesses had taken the stand, laying the first grim pieces of a puzzle that would stun the world. Nearly 9 months pregnant, Cassie stepped onto the witness stand, her frame trembling, yet her eyes blazing with resolve, like a warrior braced to confront the ghosts of her past. The air in the courtroom was taut as a bowstring, not a whisper, not a stray sound. Every soul seemed to hold their breath, poised for the truths she would unveil.
Everyone was leaning in and focusing and watching this video. Literally, you can hear a pin drop in that courtroom.
The panel of jurors began with gentle questions, as if to steady Cassie before plunging into the heart-wrenching details that lay ahead.
How old are you?
38.
What is your work?
Musician and entertainer.
How long were you with Sean?
10 years.
10 years, a decade trapped in a living hell. In 2006, Cassie, a 19-year-old with starry eyes and boundless dreams, signed with Bad Boy Records, Diddy's empire. She had no idea that step would lead her into the clutches of a tyrant. Love for Diddy wasn't an emotion, it was an invisible chain, strangling her soul, crushing her dignity. In a haunting testimony that chilled the courtroom, Cassie ripped away the glittering facade of the music world to expose a horrifying truth. To the public, Diddy was the music mogul, the mastermind who built Bad Boy Records, turned artists into superstars, and expanded his reign into fashion and media, but behind closed doors, as Cassie revealed, he was a monster, violent, controlling, and utterly ruthless.
She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on, to the lighting in the room, to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with.
Diddy held Cassie's life in a vice grip, dictating every detail: the color of her nails, white French style, the cut of her hair, even the way she spoke to others, especially in the bedroom. The freak-offs, those sordid gatherings she was forced to endure, weren't her choice. They were Diddy's twisted pleasure, watching her with other men, not because she desired it, but because she was too young, too naive, desperate to please the powerful man who controlled her career with an iron fist.
Let me show you a video. Where is this?
The Intercontinental in Los Angeles. It was after a freak-off.
What does that entail?
The hiring of an escort, setting it up.
How did you feel when he first asked for it?
Confused, nervous. I wanted to make him happy.
Did you agree to one when he first proposed it?
Yes. Then there were more. It wasn't something I wanted to do, at least not that frequently.
Just 6 months after meeting Diddy, Cassie was dragged into the sinister underworld of freak-offs, depraved marathons stretching 36 to 96 hours, sometimes 4 relentless days. These weren't rare indulgences, they were a weekly ritual staged in opulent hotels like the Intercontinental, Trump Gramercy, or Mandarin Oriental under aliases like Jackie Star or Frank Black, cloaking their darkness in false names.
Combs suggested hiring an escort to have sex with her while he watched. "My stomach churned," Ventura said. "I was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much and wanted to make him happy."
Cassie described hotel rooms drenched in blood, urine, and so much baby oil that the judge had to halt the prosecutor's questioning. She was forced to recruit escorts through Craigslist or Backpage, men like Clayton Howard or The Punisher, and perform with them in warped scenarios scripted by Diddy himself. Every detail was his to command: the flicker of Glade candles, the room's precise temperature, Johnson's baby oil for a glistening effect, and Astroglide lubricant. "If we ran out, I had to call the front desk and tip them," she recounted, her voice flat, as if reciting a nightmare she couldn't escape. Cassie revealed how Diddy coerced her into taking ecstasy, cocaine, Molly, GHB, Special K, and mushrooms to keep her awake through those endless days. "I vomited from ecstasy and MDA," she said. "GHB made my heart race. I hated it." Sometimes Diddy watched via FaceTime, treating her like a toy in his twisted game. "I felt disgusted," she confessed. "Too much in my mouth. I was choking. Once candle wax was poured onto her skin. I didn't want it," she insisted, her hands cradling her pregnant belly as if shielding her unborn child from the horrors of her past. The breaking point came one night in Las Vegas in 2010. High on ecstasy, Cassie lay on the hotel floor, dim lights casting an eerie glow. Diddy and an escort stood over her, urinating on her face. I was gagging, she sobbed, her voice breaking. I felt filthy, worthless. But if I refused, he'd beat me. The courtroom fell deathly silent, even veteran reporters frozen by the ghastly truth. Cassie admitted she once looked forward to the freak-offs, not for pleasure, but because they were her only moments alone with Diddy. I loved him, she choked out. I thought it was how to make him happy. Her confession laid bare the cruel psychological manipulation she endured, young and naive, in the grip of a predator.
Did you want to stop?
Yes, I was humiliated. I didn't have those words then. I couldn't talk to anyone about it.
Did you tell him you didn't want to?
Yes.
Why did you feel you couldn't say no?
I didn't want to make him angry or upset after he'd shared this part of himself with me.
Fear became her constant companion. Diddy recorded the freak-off videos, wielding them as a blackmailer's weapon to keep Cassie in chains. A 2010 email laid bare in court showed her pleading to stop, but Diddy's response was a chilling threat he'd leak the videos online. I deleted them from my devices, she said, her voice heavy with disgust. They were vile. Yet she lived in dread, unsure if Diddy still held those damning files. Cassie also revealed how he menaced her family, vowing retribution if she dared speak out.
Did you get in arguments?
Yes, it would result in dragging.
What else did he do?
Me in the head if I was down.
How frequently was he?
Too frequently. I would get black eyes and...
The horror didn't stop at sexual abuse and control. For 10 long years, violence was Cassie's constant shadow.
Where he would mash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me.
Cassie's voice trembled as she recounted a nightmare of brutality, a relentless storm of violence that left her broken. She spoke of savage beatings, her head smashed, her body dragged across floors, kicked, stomped, hurled against walls, shoved down stairs, and choked until the world faded to black. Each blow wasn't just physical, it carved scars into her soul, wounds that time could never heal. But one memory burned brighter than the rest. A haunting nightmare from 2012 at the Four Seasons Hotel that Cassie said she'd carry forever. It started innocently enough, an industry after-party buzzing with music and power. Then Diddy's rage ignited. Why? Because Cassie dared to speak to another music executive. That famous red carpet smile vanished, replaced by a snarl. He grabbed her arm so hard it left marks, hissing threats in her ear while flashing charm to the crowd. Picture it. A man who owned every room he walked into, dragging her through the hotel lobby like a possession, her pleas drowned out by the clatter of wealth and fame. Hotel security approached, their eyes widening as they recognized Diddy. "Everything okay?" one asked. A nod from the mogul and they melted away, leaving Cassie alone in his grip. No one asked her if she was okay. Up in the room, the mask was gone. A champagne bottle flew past her head, shattering against the wall. Lamps smashed, tables flipped, the room torn apart in his fury. For over 48 hours she was a prisoner, her phone snatched, her freedom stolen, threats ringing in her ears if she dared call for help. "I thought I was going to die that night," she whispered, her voice so soft the courtroom leaned forward, hanging on every word. The next morning, in the dim light of a bathroom mirror, she snapped photos, bruises snaking across her arms, a split lip, a neck red with violence. "I took them because I was afraid no one would believe me," she said, her words cutting through the silence. Then came the 2016 surveillance video, projected for all to see. Grainy footage showed Diddy dragging Cassie down a hotel corridor, her body limp, her fight fading. The prosecutor's voice was sharp. "Where is this?" "The Intercontinental," Cassie answered, her voice steady now. "That was the night I tried to escape. I reached for the hotel phone. He ripped it away, took my bag, everything." The photos she took afterward, raw, desperate images of bruises and a torn lip, hit the jury like a shockwave. One female juror covered her mouth, stifling a gasp. Two male jurors turned away, unable to face the truth staring back from the courtroom screens. "I took them because I was afraid no one would believe me," Cassie repeated, her words a quiet but unshakable indictment. In that moment, the untouchable king of music looked small, his empire crumbling under the weight of her truth. Cassie didn't just bring her story to the courtroom. She brought an arsenal of evidence meticulously gathered in secret over years. Text messages, emails, photos, audio recordings, each one a dagger aimed at Diddy's carefully crafted empire. In them, he was both contrite and menacing, apologizing for brutal beatings in one breath, threatening to torch her career in the next. One message laid bare his desperation, a staggering $2 million offer for a clean break, a bribe to bury the past and keep her silent. But the real shock? Messages from A-list stars, a chart-topping rapper, a beloved pop diva, a veteran producer, all expressing horror at what they'd witnessed. Their words shredded Diddy's public claims that no one ever saw him do wrong, exposing a truth the world hadn't seen. The prosecution didn't hold back, reading Diddy's chilling threats aloud. Demands for Cassie to recruit other women. References to hidden cameras capturing it all. Photos of her injuries corroborated by friends flashed on the screens, each bruise a silent scream. Hospital records under a false name and flight logs tying Diddy to the infamous freak-off parties, complete with hired escorts, wove a damning web. Cassie's voice broke as she described flipping through a notebook, a grim roster of escorts Diddy used, and how he forced her into encounters she never wanted. "I felt like an object," she said, her voice shattering, tears spilling over, like something for him to use. Amid the horror, Cassie paused, her gaze lost in the void. In a moment that stopped the courtroom cold, she confessed she had once loved Diddy with every fiber of her being. "He was my everything," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Those freak-offs, they were the only times I got him to myself. The only moments I felt connected to him." Her words hung heavy, a gut punch no one saw coming. Who could imagine it? In the heart of a nightmare, Cassie had clung to love, sacrificing herself for fleeting scraps of warmth from the man she adored. But that love became her prison. Diddy, she said, turned her into a puppet, twisting her mind and strangling her musical dreams. "I stopped feeling human," she sobbed, reliving the days she bent to his will, using drugs, enduring freak-offs, all to escape his wrath. "I was just a young girl, thinking he'd lift my career," she choked out, her voice raw with pain. The jury sat frozen, jurors' eyes glistening, as the weight of her words rewrote the story of a mogul's legacy. This wasn't just testimony, it was the unraveling of a myth, and Diddy could only watch as his untouchable crown slipped away. At the defendant's table, Diddy sat rigid, his face a mask of stone, fingers clenched around a water glass. The swagger he'd strutted in with that morning, gone, obliterated within 30 minutes of Cassie's searing testimony. He fumbled with his tie, his cufflinks, scribbling frantic notes, whispering to his lawyers, but most of the time his eyes were locked on Cassie, a piercing glare that seemed to burn through her. Cassie never met his gaze, not once, as if his presence was a shadow she refused to face. But when she unveiled her arsenal, text messages, emails, apologies from Diddy for his violence, threats to crush her career, his shock was palpable. He had no idea she'd been safeguarding these secrets for years. Messages from his inner circle, big-name friends and business partners, confirmed they'd seen his dark side at private parties. One, from producer Dallas Austin, a friend Cassie trusted, pleaded for her safety. These, alongside photos of her wounds and hospital records under a false name, painted a portrait of a Diddy the world never knew. Cassie went further, naming Diddy's loyal lieutenants, security, drivers, a former chief of staff, a financial handler, and their roles in his web of control. 7 photos of these figures flashed on the prosecutor's screen, and Diddy couldn't stay still. He shot to his feet, fury erupting as he roared, "This is a lie. She's trying to destroy me." His lawyers scrambled, yanking him back to his seat, but Diddy kept shouting, railing about betrayal. Court officers had to escort him out, leaving the courtroom in chaos. Behind him, his daughters, seated near the defense, fled in tears, unable to stomach the horrific details. Diddy's legal team, led by the sharp-tongued Tenny Garagos, fought to claw back control. They argued the 2016 video showed jealousy, not sex trafficking, and painted Cassie as a willing participant in Diddy's lavish lifestyle, driven by greed, like the $20 million civil settlement she'd secured. They hammered her drug use, questioning her memory's reliability, and pointed to date discrepancies. They called a former assistant of Cassie's to the stand, only for prosecutors to expose the witness's payments from Diddy. Cassie admitted drugs and sex were central to their relationship, but stood firm on her claims of abuse and rape, including a 2018 assault. A text from her seemed to align with Diddy, but she explained, "I sent it because I feared what he'd do." When Garagos pressed, "Why didn't you leave?" Cassie's answer silenced the room, "Because he threatened my mother would disappear." Garagos froze, and jurors exchanged glances, the weight of her words sinking in. Outside, the internet exploded. A post from Alex Fine, hailing Cassie as the strongest woman, racked up 2 million shares. Diddy's PR machine fired back, branding Cassie a schemer. But in the courtroom, his once loyal entourage began to slip away. As evidence piled up, texts, photos, recordings, they quietly exited, leaving Diddy nearly alone, just him and his lawyers against a tidal wave of truth. The man who'd ruled an empire now looked like a king dethroned, his legacy unraveling with every word Cassie spoke. Cassie's testimony stretched beyond 4 grueling hours, punctuated by pauses as her pregnancy weighed on her. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke of the freak-offs and the misguided love she once poured into Diddy, the man she called Pop Pop, who nicknamed her CC. "I did it to make him happy," she said, her voice breaking, raw with emotion. Now nearing 40, she looked back on a younger self, trapped, powerless, a girl stripped of control. "I thought I'd never escape," she confessed, "but today I'm done staying silent." The prosecutors hammered the stark power imbalance. Cassie, a 19-year-old aspiring singer, pitted against Diddy, a 37-year-old titan who held her career and finances in his grip. They unveiled evidence of Diddy's inner circle, bodyguards, and HR chief enablers who helped him tighten his control. "If I didn't answer his call right away, someone would show up," Cassie said, her voice trembling as she glanced at photos of the guards. The prosecution's case was clear. This wasn't just domestic abuse, but a criminal enterprise, with Diddy at its core wielding fame and power to orchestrate a 2-decade web of exploitation. As Cassie stepped down from the witness stand, supported by her husband Alex, her eyes were weary but free of fear. Gone was the naive 19-year-old who'd entered Diddy's world. Today, she's a wife, a mother, expecting her 3rd child, living a quiet life with Alex, who often shares his love for her on Instagram. "She's the greatest mother," he once posted, and now in the courtroom, he was her rock, unwavering at her side. The Cassie of 2025 is a far cry from the Cassie of 2006, a rising R&B star once compared to Ciara and Rihanna. Her debut album, produced by Ryan Leslie, cracked the top 20, but then, nothing. "I kept waiting," she said in her testimony, "but the freak-offs held my career hostage." A 10-album deal with Bad Boy Records yielded just 1 release, and Cassie faded from the spotlight, resurfacing only briefly on red carpets or in a Nicki Minaj track 6 years later. Beyond the courtroom, social media erupted. Hashtags like Cassie Speaks and Diddy Trial trended worldwide. Artists like Kalani demanded the music industry take accountability, while rumors swirled about others like Meek Mill allegedly tied to the freak-offs, though no concrete evidence has emerged. But inside the courtroom, Cassie was the focal point. Alex's gaze never left her, a beacon of light piercing the darkness of her past, guiding her through the storm of memories. The story of Cassie and Diddy is a stark warning. Not every relationship draped in glamour is true love. When power is twisted to control and suffocate another, it ceases to be love, it becomes oppression. Cassie made the courageous choice to step out of the shadows and speak her truth, not just for herself, but for thousands of silent victims still trapped. And once the wheels of justice begin to turn, they don't stop easily. As day 2 of the trial drew to a close, the man who strode into the courtroom as music's untouchable king left looking like a defeated general. His security team, once a fortress around him, couldn't shield him from the storm that raged inside that courtroom. The evidence, the testimony, the recordings, they painted a picture no one could unsee. The question now isn't whether Diddy can win this case, but whether his reputation can ever recover from the truths the world heard in that courtroom today.